A thread by Brent Cates, also known as Soul War. So, on Wednesday, June 3rd, Attorney General Barr revealed to the vile press and the despotic DC denizens what he and President Trump had done to foil their insurrection and hopes for a Kent State 2.0, where the protesters would die at the hands of the U.S. military in a severe crackdown. The stage had been set by the Democrat governors and mayors, a perfect storm of chaos that would force Trump to act arbitrarily, with Americans being killed as their neighborhoods were ravaged and savaged by rioters, looters, and arsonists. Trump's number one job is to protect Americans. The Democrat governors and mayors were not activating their National Guard to restore order, and in many cities, the mayors were having the police stand down and giving the mob space to destroy. This was all done trying to get Trump to send in regular military without the governors and mayors' permission. When that happened, their Democrat operatives would ensure a bloodbath. There are 1,001 dirty tricks to push soldiers and protesters into attacking. Operatives dressed as soldiers shooting protesters. Operatives dressed as protesters shooting soldiers. All blamed on Trump. It was beyond depraved. It was demonic. A long-planned insurrection used the death of George Floyd to launch a nationwide terror attack to bring down Trump and possibly collapse the nation. Trump was supposed to blindly stumble into this quagmire and start a civil war. Every major U.S. city was overrun for days with massive amounts of arson, looting, and attacks on police. Black Americans, outraged at Floyd's death, were horrified when Antifa appeared and proceeded to burn down every business in sight, including those owned by blacks. Loads of bricks to be used as weapons and smashed windows were strategically placed beforehand by someone, Democrat operatives, to add to the mayhem. President Trump was supposed to crack down hard and overreact, sending in tanks and machine guns, a recipe for disaster. Trump, Barr, and Secretary of Defense Esper fooled and beat all of it. Esper appeared to dither indecisively about deploying the army, and when he finally did so, most of them had only riot shields and batons, no tanks or miniguns. The arson and the worst of the looting had already subsided. May 27th, 28th, and 29th was the worst of the arson and the looting. But something happened over the weekend of May 30th and 31st. We may never know exactly what occurred, but the systematic arson stopped on Saturday night like someone threw a switch. On Sunday, thousands of protesters were detained and sifted, and key arrests of high-value targets made. Except for places like New York City, where de Blasio still stood down the police, most of the looting ceased. By Monday, Trump defeated a long-planned terror attack on America in 3 days. By Monday, the vast mobs were just milling about. Wednesday, Barr spilled the beans. He and Trump had activated hundreds of federal SWAT teams from all the various branches of the federal government. The EPA has SWAT teams. The Department of Agriculture has SWAT teams. Thousands of agents, U.S. Marshals, ATF, federal prison sort teams. So, as Esper tricked these degenerate shitweasels who had set the stage for their longed-for bloodbath, bye-bye Trump, these teams were quietly deployed to all major hotspots and restored order as federal agents can be deployed without Democrats' permission. No Kent State 2.0. The mainstream media threw a fit when Barr explained what he and Trump had done. Mainstream media, by what authority can you deploy them? Barr, they're federal agents, not military. We don't need permission. What happened within minutes of that press conference ending? Hashtag defund the police. They hoped the pandemic would collapse the nation. Nope. They tried to collapse the nation with lockdowns. Nope. Now comes their long planned insurrection. Failed. You just witnessed a foreign influences, communism's last desperate gasp. I often talk about the devastating influence of foreign money and influence on America. I don't hate the people of other nations per se. I do hate people and nations that actively attempt to destroy my nation and freedoms. Too many of our politicians are owned by other nations. When you take the money, they own you. I post these pics for no reason whatsoever. Pick 1, tell Vlad, who owns me like his bitch, and pick 2, Trump is probably thinking of dead American operatives in Iran and China via Hillary's unsecured server. Understand and hear this clearly. The foreign influence, which was like an iron grip on our throat, is being broken. Some of these governors and mayors are all in, utter ideologues, but some had no choice. Owned. Do as you're told. They thought that Trump would go brutal like these guys would. They fundamentally misunderstand Trump and as and Americans, as our enemies always have. We are nothing like them. Secretary Mike Pompeo warned our governors months ago. We read your mail, idiots. Now would be a great time to end your relationship with the Chinese Communist Party. Oh, well. So they tried an insurrection, using Black Lives Matter protests as a cover, with anywhere from 200 to 400 foreign terrorists attacking us on our soil nationwide. Jennifer Zhang, June 1st, rioters outside the White House. Man says in Mandarin Chinese, go, go, hurry up, leave quickly. Donald Trump, Secretary Pompeo, you need to investigate what kind of a role the Chinese Communist Party is playing in this when the US and world want to hold the Chinese Communist Party responsible for the Chinese Communist Party virus pandemic. America swallowed them in one night. One day to realize the nature of the attack, Thursday, May 28th. One day to deploy covertly and monitor movement, May 29th. One day to deploy to take them out, capture them, Saturday, May 30th. Geneva Conventions do not apply. 8 decades of planning, scheming, positioning in Hollywood, the courts, and academia just came crashing down in flames. Frankfurt School, Alinsky, Ayers, all their efforts came to nothing. They will not recover from this. Trump is only going to grow stronger. Antifa is flailing about, decapitated. The crowds of protesters are still coming out, but without the key agitators there to guide and direct them to attack police or loot and destroy property. Most of these riots have turned into actual protests that look like block parties. The malevolent influence over those crowds that delighted in degenerating them into violent mobs is gone. Federal agents are on overwatch to stop any violence. We are now witnessing the protests as they should have been. All it took was 3 determined Americans, unafraid to find a solution and defend America. Stability and prosperity are going to come roaring back as America's enemies grind their teeth in useless rage. Foreign operatives and domestic concern trolls descend to disparage Esper in 3, 2, 1.